Hi, my name is Megan, and this is a Naughty Mess knitting podcast. Hi, everyone. I just want to start by saying thanks for watching. This has been a little overwhelming this week. I've had a lot more views than I anticipated. I said on the first podcast I was only expecting my knitting group to watch. I was not lying. That's really who I thought would watch it. I mean, I know I go out and I just watch knitting podcasts of whoever just when they come up, and then I'll pick ones that I really like and I'll start, maybe I'll go back a little bit or I'll start following. And I know other people do that. But there are a lot out there and there's a lot of great content. So I feel really grateful to everybody who's watching, who commented, who found me on Instagram, which I'll plug really fast. My Instagram is also _naughty_mess. You can also find me on Ravelry, be friends with me. Check out my projects. Again, not the absolute best about putting notes in, but I'm trying to be a little bit better about notes with needles and things like that for my tests especially, but also for the things I'm making for myself, because I do modify and those notes are helpful. I use them for other people, so be a good citizen. I will also continue to do that. I have notes for this one in there, which we're going to talk about now. So we've got the basics to go through today. So what I'm wearing, finished objects, which I have one, whips, new cast on, I think I have one, and a thought, what I'm reading, and some other, new acquisitions. I have a fun one today. We are going to do a mystery unbox, and I literally haven't opened it. This is the package. It is 100% closed still. You will watch me open it with scissors. So that'll be fun. And some thoughts on some things because I'm here to share. So find me on those platforms. Also comment below. I have been responding to people's comments and it's so fun for me. So yeah, let's start. This is called the Peep Show Pullover by her handle is More Thunder. I think her name is Morgan, and I'll put info here. It is heavily modified, and I'm going to talk about that, but let me show you first. So this is the t-shirt. It's hot here today, so bear with my sweaty face. It's made out of slub yarn. We'll talk about that in a second too, but I love the fit of this. I have been living in this t-shirt all summer. I think I finished it sometime in May. It's got the fun peep kind of here, and I did that peep on the sleeve. So let's talk about the yarn and then the modifications. So this is called Savvy Stella. It's a Hello Stella Fibers yarn base. I have some right here that we're going to look at a little closer. So this is 90% superwash merino, 10% nylon, 438 yards per 100 grams. It does go a long way. It is an interesting base. So I bought several skeins, but first I bought two skeins in this colorway, which is called A Streetcar Named Dyer. I'm going to get a little bit close so you can see some of the hair color variances. So you can see there's reds, we've got some oranges and some peachy tones. And you can see how the slubs just sort of pop their way out here. And I paired it with a singles from Grenouille, and I had made some socks, I think, with this, held with mohair, which was not my best sock decision, but what are you gonna do? So I had not a lot left over and I wanted to use it. So here it is. It's a pretty good color match. I could have used a blue, or a total different pop, but that's kind of one of the fun things about this pattern. And slub picks up color differently. So one example of what I'm wearing is this right here is the same colorway in a DK base. So this is the basic Stella DK, which is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. And you can see how different that is. So obviously they're not the same dye lot. This is you know, I don't even know if they were dyed at the same time because I got both of these from a D-stash, but you can see there is, you know, those colors exist, that dark red, the pink, that it looks a lot more pink on this yarn. Whoops, stay here. Blues. This is a little, I think, more truly white in places than the way that this bleeds. Also, knit up looks very different. But it does make a difference. So I have an example. These are also Stella, Hello Stella, also Savvy Stella, and then this is their sock base. And I don't know where their little tags are, but these are the same colorway. And I'll put a picture of them skeined, because skeined, I was like, oh, these would be so cool together as sort of like a striped tee where the slub is the stripes, this is the main color, and it just gives you a texture variation, same colorway. Well, when I caked them up, they look so different. They look like there's so much more pink and teals and greens in this one, and this looks so much more yellow, like that hot yellow, highlighter yellow green, and purple with just a little bit of teal in it. So again, that's just the nature of dye. There's nothing wrong with this. It's just, it didn't work out for the plan that I theoretically had in my brain. I'm gonna pop these back up here. I did a little shelf rearranging. Maybe you guys noticed. Probably not, because there's a lot of yarn here. It's for me also because I have some new things coming, and I wanted to move my acrylics. I had one, my lowest shelf, which you can't see here, was still like my baby yarn acrylics, and so I popped those away to somewhere else that's not on this wall, and I just, you know, moved everything down a little bit, gave my sock room a little more breathing space. Not that it matters for right now, but so that's the yarn. It is breathable. You don't notice the slub on your skin. It's still super soft, and it's fun. I mean, that texture is, it's so fun, and there's tons of slubs on the inside of this too. I think you could, if you were really wanting to, pop more of them out. I like that it's sort of space speckled, you know, popcorny. That is fun to me. So let's talk about the pattern. Again, this is called the Peep Show Pullover. It is a t-shirt. That's what the, if you look at it in Ravelry. And I bought it not reading a lot of the Ravelry reviews, which I don't do. I usually do like look through people's projects, which I did, and I saw a couple of testers were larger size, so I figured that the fit would be comparable and look nice on me. It is something that I'm super aware of, being a plus size knitter. I can't just buy anything. We'll talk about later opinions on size inclusivity and other things like that, but it's something I pay attention to, specifically testers or other makers who have finished projects, and I'll look through notes if they have them of modifications they made or thoughts on the pattern, and that sways my decision. This one didn't have anything I could really see at a glance. I mean, I think I looked like very briefly, but I got some feedback later from somebody on a Discord. So this is size 5, which is maybe an extra large. I think it's just size 5. And it's supposed to be 48 inches. My gauge is a little bit off. This was just for me. It wasn't a test knit or anything. So I just went with it with the recommended needle size, which was 4 millimeters. My gauge is a little bit closer, like 20 stitches over 4 inches instead of 22. My row gauge is pretty good though. And I think that's a little bit of blocking and like a lot of wear. It's just relaxed a little, which is fine. I like the fit. I think it's super comfortable and I can wear it with lots of different things. But I feel like I need to tell you so the problem I had with this pattern once I started making it, and some of the modifications were just like preference, but it's a circular yoke, which is just got kind of like a double yarn over drop elongated lace stitch, I think it's called, and that's what makes this nice little peep. No problems here. Once we got into the larger part of the repeat, I felt, once I started looking at the math a little closer, that there were not going to be enough sleeve stitches for me. I do have larger arms. I don't, I need more space than probably most people, even at a size extra large. So it's something I modify a lot. It's usually not a hard modification. It does make certain things like color work yokes, depending on how far they fall, a little bit difficult for me. But I can usually just like cast on a couple of extra underarm stitches and maybe decrease the body a little so that it doesn't create a lot of extra bulk there. This one didn't have any cast on stitches after you, like when you take off the, so when you're joining just the body and the round. So you put your sleeves on stitch holders or whatever you're using, yarn, scrap yarn, and then you just join the body. There was nothing to go underneath. So that math especially didn't make sense for my arm size. I've actually never done a pattern that didn't have any cast on sizes, especially once you get into these larger sizes. Some with a drapey yoke maybe some patterns maybe don't need them for like an extra small or a small or very few stitches, but none for an extra large doesn't make body sense to me. So I actually ripped back once I got to like the third or fourth increase, I think. And then I did some math and I redistributed some of the stitches, how often I was doing increases over the sleeves, changing that to the body. And then I added a lot of stitches underneath, maybe like 30. They're in my Ravelry notes, but I did add some because I wanted it to fit. And I'm very glad I did. The fit is excellent with those modifications. So there you go. I mean, use those if you would like them. It is a fun pattern for slub. I really think for slub yarn, now that I've worked with it, I would be able to modify other patterns. I know that I like the fit of already. Anything in fingering or even like a DK weight. I mean, 20 stitches gives a nice gauge and it's not completely see-through or anything. So, you could really use that knowledge or just do a gauge swatch and figure out what you want to sub in. The other things I modified were there was no peep on the sleeve, and the sleeves were really short on the, for as it's written and on the testers, and that ain't my game. I like a sleeve, especially for like a t-shirt I was going to wear like this, and I wanted the peeps to kind of repeat. I thought that would be a fun way to use a little extra yarn and also give me some breathing, extra breathability in my sleeves. So I did that. I cast on at the neck and bound off everything also with that Grenouille. So that's the modification. Oh, the other modification I made is down here at the bottom. In the pattern, I think that it just had that you do the peep and then you sort of finish. That's kind of it, like maybe a couple of rows and then you finish. I did the same amount of rows as between the cast on and the peep, and same with the sleeves. I just kind of kept it more uniform, I guess. That's my preference for this. And those are the modifications I made. So there you have it. Finished object. I have one. I finished the one I was closest to finishing last week, my boke seat. Did I need to finish this first? And no is the answer. I really need my Allie's sweater light to get finished. It's sort of like a to-do list. Sometimes you got to knock the easiest thing off first so you can really focus on the other thing. I also was using this as my Zoom call knit last week because everything was already done. I did the sleeves one night and then it's just adding like to the body and finishing it, and I did. So let me pop this on real quick so you can see it. Oh, before I do though, let's just cover this. Where was I last time? I had one sleeve done and that much of the body. So I finished the body, finished the hem, and added this whole sleeve. So I had 2 little markers in there. So pretty good. And give me 1 second. Whew, okay. It's hot in here, so this is going to be a fast show and tell, but this is it on. I did block it yesterday and laid it out. It's 93% dry. I'm gonna go lay it back out, but it's mostly dry, just a little bit of the collar. So we talked about this last time, but this is a test I have for Molly at White Owl Crochet Co. Called the Boxite Pullover. It is a circular yoke construction, top down, in its fingering plus mohair held together. She has this beautiful little, you know, like yarn over accent. Oh, it's so cute. I love that. It's on the sleeves as well, though maybe not quite as, yeah, you can see them on the sleeves, and it's on the hem. So let me get back here a little bit. Whoa, it's long. There we go. Pull that up for you so you can see it. I did the full length version. It pulls kind of a lot with, I'm gonna put a picture up maybe when I sit back down, of pre-blocking. It was hitting me like here, so it grew a lot. This is also blocked to measurements. If I was blocking just for myself, I likely wouldn't have kind of pulled as much. But it is airy, and so like, I mean, it's nice. Like it looks fine now, like in real life up close, having that kind of like being blocked a little bit aggressively. So that is it. The sleeves are nice. I think I told you guys this. I did go up a needle size for the sleeves because I was just having like my own tension issues. It wasn't the sleeve itself. Yeah, so this is pre-blocked, and this is the length now. I can't even show you guys. It's hitting like at my bum. So I will take this off and then talk about it more because it's so hot. Whew. Okay, we're back. So let's hold it up again. It's beautiful. I love it. Let me give you some reminders about what I used. So I made the size 5, which is an extra large. It is not due until early September, I think like the end of the first week. And so for me, the knit is done. Ends are woven in, blocked, cut, ends are cut. That's my order of doing things. And it fits great. I need to take measurements, which I did a little bit while I was blocking, but I like to like let it dry all the way, let it free from the pins, and then take the measurements, and recheck my gauge, and then I will send in my note form for Molly. My note is, I love it. It's great and warm. So I used Capretta Superwash from Knit Picks. It's the colorway is Hemlock Heather, and it is a fingering weight yarn. It's an 80-10-10, so 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. And I use that with, and it's 230 yards for 50 grams. I used 5-ish balls, I think. I need to go back and also weigh the things. That's part of my notes. I will pop that onto my Ravelry page so you can see the yardage that I used for this size. And I held that with Drops Silk, Kid Silk, which is their mohair, in the colorway 2, which is black. And it's a 75% mohair, 25% silk, 230 yards for 25 grams. And someone messaged me to ask how I like the shed. This does shed a lot. I was finding it in my Alley Light project because I threw them in a bag together, and I was like, why does this white yarn have so much black in it? Mohair shedding. I have a high shed dog, so I don't think it phases me as much as maybe it does for some others to like find little black fuzzies running around. It's definitely worse while you're making it. It's kind of like your lap will have some color on it. I have used other mohairs. I just did the sorrel sweater we talked about last week. That also shed a lot. Now they were light pink, so they were like a little less like, well, in your face. But they were still around. I think it's like a trait of mohair, but I know that like when you're wearing it, it doesn't necessarily shed quite as much. But you're running it along your hand, so it makes sense. It's sprouting. I mean, it's a hairy fiber. So But yeah, be prepared for that. I used 5mm needles, except for the sleeves, 5.5mm. The ribbing is 3mm, so it's like a lot. That's a big difference. Blocking them out like definitely did help. I thought I did a sewn bind off, and I thought that it was going to be way too tight, but that is like, it blocked totally even, which is great. And yeah, it was a fun knit. Japanese short rows. I didn't talk about them last time, and I'm just going to give them a plug here real fast. You can sub Japanese short rows anytime you're using German short rows. I think it's very much a preference. I thought it was cool that Molly included them in this to give us something different to do. Also, I do think in this it was a really smart choice because it's a circular yoke. You know, those short rows fall kind of in the front, and you don't want, there's no pattern in this once you get past the yarn overs. So you don't want to have like an interrupted pull or, you know, to really see those. With the mohair, you can't really see them anyway, but Japanese short rows, mind-boggling when I read them. I really was like, this is the strangest thing I ever read. So you essentially take a stitch marker that you can open, like a light bulb stitch marker, and when you decide to turn back, you just turn back, but you put a stitch marker on the yarn. And so when you're ready to resolve your Japanese short row, you just pull that kind of aggressively and do your, you know, your double stitch essentially. But you, instead of doing, yeah, you pull it to the next row. So what it does, I think, over German short rows, sometimes in German short rows, you can kind of get like a fat stitch or a long stitch where it has spread a little at your double stitch. This doesn't. It's behind the stitch when you resolve it. It also, because you're not giving any extra slack, you're not putting that yarn over your needle before you use it. You're kind of pulling from the other two stitches. So like some people do German short rows and then they just tug a little tight when they resolve, or when they're doing the double stitch, they'll tug back a couple of stitches. You just don't have to do that for this. I liked it. I thought it was great. I don't know that I'm going to sub them for everything, but I could. And that's nice to have options. I love options. So that is the book seat. That's my only finished object this week. There's a lot of stuff going on. Just like in the summer, my family's also sick. So that's fun. But I have made progress on my other, some of them, works in progress. So let's talk about my Allie sweater light. I have my Allie sweater light. Also, some people show their fun project bags. You guys, I don't have that many project bags. My mom is a wonderful and a sewer. So she has already made me a couple of like really fun project bags by my request. But I don't have some of like the fun ones everyone else has. But I do have this very fun Harry Potter in the style of a Starry Night bag that I got from a friend. So I've got a bunch of totes for these. Sweaters work well in totes, so I'm not opposed. I don't have some of the fun pockets though, but I do have Notion cases that I, pop into whatever I'm working on. So my Allie's, so much progress. This is my progress marker. I'm using my flock marker because I just love it so much. It had to go in something that would keep me, just that little bit motivated. Is it gonna, just a reminder if you guys don't remember seeing this on the last episode. It's so cute. Okay, that is the back. This is the front. And I am done the yoke, woohoo! This was a lot of stitches. I think it was like 514. Maybe more than that before I resolved the yoke. It was a lot. Like I said, I wasn't sure how it was going to work out, but Sarah, so rewind. This is the Allie's Sweater Light test knit I have for Sarah Opie, who is S-Knits on Instagram. It is the fingering weight version of her very, very popular Allie's sweater. I think there's an Allie's tee too, where these fun diamonds are like at the bottom. It's an awesome construction. We have a folded brim. And then I talked about these amazing, using the German short rows, like how she did this fun little extra detail at the top, which does look so nice and totally is in style. And then the yoke, I was, midway point through, and then I wasn't sure how this would work out, but what she does at the end of your, your last few rows before you join your body together and take out your sleeves, is that you do some like increases just on the body, and you do a bunch of them right in a row. I was also kind of interested to see how that would look texture. It's not really truly at the raglan anymore, but it is not that noticeable because you're only increasing one side. I will show you actually, because we'll talk about it more when it's done, but you can see those increases here when they're going to the body, and it is such a cool feature because it really does. I put it on. I won't put it on for you right now because it's really hot. And I don't have my barber cord down here, but I like the fit. It does kind of tuck the body before, and then you're not putting on a lot of stitches at the body because you've sort of already given yourself some of those stitches. The fit is nice. And so I have a few inches of body, and as I do, I like to then make my sleeves, because there's also color work on these sleeves and a little bit of color work at the bottom, which I know I'm gonna have to do, and that'll be fine. I'm not worried about running out of my color. I think for all, don't quote me on this, maybe all of the sizes, it's just one skein of fingering, like 100 gram skein, to do the accents. But I like working on the body, actually. I don't mind stocking up bodies, but I like to get the sleeves sort of out of the way. It's a drapey. This is 52 inches is the size that I'm making, a size 5. I just want to make sure I like where it fits before I do the body. I also, we have the option of doing the body sort of the size we want. I think the intention is a full length. I will likely do a full length, but I might want this a little bit cropped just because. Yeah, so that's why I'm doing the sleeves. I just like doing the sleeves before I finish the body. And I'm doing the decreases on the sleeves right now, and they're going pretty quickly. Like, I just started this last night. So I have quite a lot of sleeve done. And yeah, I'm loving it. So more details. This is the Alley Sweater Light, which is a top-down raglan. It is due September 1st, so I also need to get cracking. But in 1 week I did all of that, so I think it's totally possible. I am making this with an affordable yarn and a hand-dyed yarn. I want to talk a little bit about stash before we open the mystery box, but I'll just talk about this really quick. So it is the Drops Fable in the color 100, which is off-white. It's a fingering weight yarn. It is superwash. It is 75% superwash wool, 25% polyamide or nylon. It's 224 yards per 50 grams. And the contrast, the bluey purple, purpley blue, is Montana Crochet sock base in the color Larkspur, which is fingering weight, obviously, 100% superwash merino, and it is a little bit plumper. It's 438 yards per 100 grams. I don't know if you can tell in this too that I thought I was like getting off gauge as I started just working on the body. It looks a little bit boop boop boop. Will you pick it up, camera? Still trying to find my face. Hold on. There we go. It looks a little, I don't know if airy is the right word, just like loose. I'm dead on for gauge still. Obviously it's not blocked. I won't have to aggressively block any of this. I'll kind of get it wet, and I'm hoping that wetting this will help relax the fibers a little bit, make them look a little more even, because it is a little toothier, like I said last time, and it is, it's catching. They don't look 100% even. Agitating a little bit in the water when you wash is also how you can kind of, like pull your stitches and even them out a little bit. And I'm hoping that it also does bloom a tiny bit so that this sort of fills in the space. I don't think it will look bad. Like back here, you really can't tell, but a whole lot of white once we finish it. I'm just kind of hoping it doesn't look like too airy, like it's not the right yarn. Yeah. So let's talk about my other whips. Okay, this is my Wild Ivy by Woolen Pine designs. I did make a little bit of progress, not a ton. Again, I really focused on the alley and getting that book seat done, but I did want to get this neckline done so I could kind of see where it sat on my body. It's great. It's amazing. Doing this is awesome. So I did the recommended pickup of stitches for the as originally intended, I guess. But like I said, Woolen Pine had some really great photos to show you what the neckline would look like on this sweater if you pick up more or less stitches. I might just pop in that little visual because it's not giving anything away. I won't put any text, but it is very cool to see really how you can customize this yourself. Just that little feature really would change the look of the sweater. I like the scoop. The original scoop is so pretty. I'm okay with showing a little bit of cleavage. It doesn't go down very far on me, like, you know, not much past this peep here. So I'm really showing like some upper chest collarbone, which I'm okay with. So I did do that. I have not picked up a sleeve, but that's probably what I'll do next because this is sort of a raglan construction. I mean, it is, you know, there's a front and a back shoulder seam. But since you kind of do those before you join, I just want to make sure that I like where the sleeves are fitting. Again, I have bigger arms. I want to make sure that everything fits as it should be before I go down anywhere in the body, because like I said, I got to a point where I am still doing body decreases, and you do them until your natural waist, which I think is preference. I will tuck it in a little bit so it does kind of, you know, follow my curves. That's the look I'm going for. I don't have a lot of super close knits. This is should be about a 0 ease. I put it on the other day and I think it's a little bit loose on my right at my full bust. I think I probably picked like I picked the size 5, which is a 44-inch bust. So it should be closer. Maybe my gauge is a little off. Again, it's for me, so I don't really think I gauge swatched. And that's okay. It's fine if it's a little bit closer to like, I think, you know, maybe at 0 negative ease, which is fine. But then the tuck will be a little bit more important. And then you do increased stitches and it sort of, you know, does a little hourglassy thing if you want. You can skip those entirely. They're just on the side. There's absolutely nothing that would change in making the pattern. I love to go down in the bodies, you know, go down stitches while you're doing the body though, because it's a lot of stitches. So that's fun. Oh, speaking of fun project bags for my mom. Oh, I have 2 things to talk about on this that are not yarn related or knitting related, but I'll give you the details really quick first. So this is a top-down lace front panel design. It's made with back loop Yarn Co's cashmere DK base in evergreen, which is also an 80-10-10 mix, 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. It's 231 yards for 100 grams. I'm using size 4mm needles for the body, which is the recommended size. The size 5 44-inch bust is what I'm making. Okay. These make me really happy. So I have my stitch marker on here, but I also did, oh, you guys, I put a progress keeper on the body and I did approximately 0 body rows. It's just right there on the end. I don't know if you can see. It's one of those, it's a cute little leaf from Hello Lavender. Pick up the leaf. Okay, I know these are all the craze too. And I'll tell you what I did though. Unless anyone has questions, I'm not going to talk about it much because I don't want to be a bad person. But Twice Sheer Cheap, super popular for having these kind of counter, you know, row counter sort of things. I looked on Etsy too, just to see sort of, they're pretty expensive for a notion. And I, you know, looked on Etsy, also not like super cheap. I have jewelry making things here. I did buy some numbers and I made them myself because I had a lot of the things, and it's just, you know, I'm a crafter. That's sometimes what I do. So I made this cute little row counter, which is so helpful in lace. You know, this is a long chart. Like I said, I think it's 30 something rows in the chart. It has, I put this one has, you know, I like to match. I have a couple because I made them myself. This one has like a cute little boop cactus. I don't know if it's going to zoom in on that. And then I was just using a light bulb stitch marker that I'll throw on once I pass 10. So I'll put it at 10 and then go through, and that would be 11, 12, 13 as counting happens. And what I was also showing you is one of the project bags my mom made me, and shout out to my mom who won't watch this, but I love her and she's the greatest. I did say I wanted like just a simple drawstring bag. My daughter, Theo, her room is boho dino chic. I put wallpaper on her walls that is dinosaurs and cactuses and cacti that are peachy colored background and some soft pinks and sage colors. I did also order her, when I got that, some fabric for bedding that matches. So this is kind of the pattern, and it's so fun. It's so cute. I got these from Spoonflower. If you guys haven't gone on, they've got like, it was peel and stick wallpaper, which is how I found them, because they have like an insane amount of patterns. It's actually so overwhelming. But I love to customize things. So I got that. And the fabric, they have almost everything that you can print. You can print it on anything. So these designs are made by like regular people, I guess. They've tons, you know, tons of designers, and I think that anyone can just like upload artwork. So this came in several shades. So for her bedding, I picked the sage green one. Anyway, I don't really need to talk about it much, but she used extra, like the leftovers from her bed, to make me this little project bag for Mother's Day that says Mother's Day here on the side. And she used Theo's hands to make flowers. My daughter Theo, not very cooperative at 4 months old, and wouldn't open her like chubby little fist. So she got all this paint on her, and then they just sort of shoved her hand onto the thing. I didn't know about it. It was a surprise for me, and it was super lovely. So it's a very special little project bag that I take everywhere with me. So what else do I have? I have the Skyline pullover. Do you want to see how much progress I made? I really wanted to get these shoulder panels done. I'm going to show you because this is real life. You know, you don't always get as much done as you think. Again, sick family, busy kind of things going on. But I put a stitch marker in because I really had like 2 rows, I think, last time. Boop. And now you can see I have a couple more. I was trying to do this in the car, but I didn't have my Portuguese purling pin. I get car sick, so I really can only do things I'm not like looking down and thinking about. This one I had to think about a little bit too much, but I did cast both of them on because it is the same panel on each shoulder, and then I'm going to finish those up, and then you join. So that's the progress there. At least it's moving forward. Again, this is a test knit for October, so I'm not panicked about it. I'm not like, that's not my main focus, but I love to just get them started so that I don't like put it way back in the back burner and forget about it. And then my staple tee, which is coming up a lot sooner. I still think that it's the end of September, so I have time. I did a gauge swatch. I did 2 gauge swatches with that Malabrigo silky merino yarn that I showed last time, and here's the gauge swatch I might go with. I didn't finish it. No, I didn't block it, and we can talk about that too. But it still gave me an idea of stitch count. Gauge is super important for this project, but I'm not sure that I love, let's see if it zooms in more. I'm not sure that I, come on, stay on the yarn, love it. I'm very undecided on the yarn for this. I just don't know what I want to do. I might go back to the drawing board this weekend and then just commit to something. So more to come next week. One other, I guess that's not even really a cast on, but one cast on, new cast on I have. We talked very briefly about this last week because I showed the finished objects, my socks, my Dear Bjorn socks. Again, I'm in the Farmer's Daughter Fibers sock squad this year. I'm committed to the whole year, even though you just pay monthly and you can cancel. It was my birthday present from my husband to me, and so I am gonna do the whole year. I really wanted to make the socks each month. So I cast on for the August sock. I honestly cast on a lot, like very end of the month. But I was like, nah, I'll get something on. It is a beautiful color. This one is called Yucca. And it does have white flowers. I didn't bring the calendar down to show you guys. I think like maybe towards the end of the year, I'll show you all of them, all the socks I made, along with, you know, the colors and some pictures I took of them while I was winding. It does have these like bright pops of yellow, some like little brown speckles. It's nice. This is their Rocky Mountain Pearls base, which is superwash BFL and nylon, and I love it. I used it for one other sock was in this, and it's a little toothier. It's a 2-ply, but it has a lot of bounce, and I like the BFL, and I you know, have not worn them to death, but I've heard that it wears pretty well. Okay, so this is what I started. This is called Branches, and it is another pattern from the Lina 52 Weeks of Socks Volume 1, and it is an all over lacework pattern. Let's see if I can hold this up in a way that looks like anything. It is cuffed down, and I don't like it, so I'm gonna rip it out. Not the pattern itself, I think I overcorrected. So I made a pair of socks with the June colorway, and I used my regular 2.25 millimeter needles, which, yeah, of course, go with the pattern. I don't know if those were recommended. I think they might have been. I like the density of fabric that creates for my knitting style with pretty much any sock yarn. I made the larger size in those, and they were too tight. They had, you guys, I don't know that I want to say the name of it. I'll pop the pattern and the sock up here. It had a lace work panel that started and then moved. So cute. I almost finished the first one, tried it on, and then I was like, oh no, this does not go over my higher instep and over my heel. I have a friend who took them, and I was telling her I'd make her socks anyway. Green is a great color for her, so it all worked out. But they're even a little snug on her, and I think she wears like a size like 7.5 or 8. I wear a 9.5. I have a big foot. So yeah, so this one I use the recommended 2.5 millimeter needles. This is a 400 yards for 100 grams, so it's a tiny, you know, the thicker side of fingering yarn, and I did the bigger size, and I feel like I just overcorrected, possibly changing both the needles, and like, I don't know. I'm not a sock expert. I've only been making socks for like 2 years, and I've never made a pattern more than once for socks. Actually, for like a lot of things. I don't often repeat other than hats. But I want to, and more garments that I make that I really love, I want to make them again. But I'm still trying things out for socks, and I wanted, you know, I thought this colorway had enough kind of like subtlety, and there's just, you know, a lot of white, that it would really show off something like lace work. I'm gonna rip this out, and I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I think my gut says cables will still look great, and I might do a contrast color. Like I have a couple brown minis in my stash that would make them a little more fall for cables, because this is a pretty bright, you know, white color. Maybe I'll do something with stripes. I mean, who knows? We'll see next week. And those are my works in progress. What else do we have to talk about? We have to talk about, oh, one thing I want to share. This is a future plan. You know, why not? This will be a cast on next week because I do have a timeline for this. My childhood best friend her birthday's in September. I've progressively been making her nicer and nicer things over the years. It's both of our first birthdays. I'm a December birthday. It's both of our first birthdays being moms, and I thought that was a special year for us to commemorate with something a little bit nicer as a present. So this year I am making her a sweater. It's the first sweater I've made for her. She lives on the East Coast, which makes this a little bit challenging. She also has little babies. She has twins, and they're 11 days older than Theo. So it's so fun. We didn't know we were going to be moms at the same time because we adopted, and we found out about Theo after she was born. So the boys were already here, and like, surprise, it was a little bit wild. I'm so glad we get to be moms at the same time. It's really special for us. But yeah, this is such a pretty color. I bought this in a D-stash. I'm going to talk about this in a second because this is actually how I met my knitting group, this specific yarn. So it's also a little bit special for that, but this is a woolberry yarn. It's called I Smell Snow. And I'm using, this is Berry Surrey, and this is the original Berry Surrey, and she didn't actually change the name of it when she got the new base, but this is the 328 yards for 50 grams. It's 74% Surrey alpaca, 26% silk, and it is so soft. And then this is let me pull the thing out. This is the Berry Natural. So it is 100% non-superwash, 20.5 micron merino. I don't know a lot about microns. Something I'm going to discover more. If you don't watch Gently Chaotic Knits, which is Emily Curtis's YouTube podcast, she was talking last week about a new book purchase she has, which is called, let me look, it's in my Libby. I took it out from the library when she talked about it because I was like, there are some questions I have also, you know, as I'm just going on a journey to discover more non-superwash bases and, you know, just kind of getting to know yarn a little bit more. It's called the Fleece and Fiber Source Book. So definitely I think something that spinners tend to gravitate towards, but there is more information about yarns, yarn styles, and, you know, sheep type and how that matters. And I think there's a section on there on microns. So I'm going to read about it and then we can talk about it. I do know the lower numbers, I think, means it's softer to like next to skin. But so both I Smell Snow, and this is going to be a Whitmore. The sweater version, I don't know if it's called a pullover or sweater, but the Whitmore. And we'll talk a lot more about that next week when I have it cast on. But I'm super excited. And this color, sorry, let me show you. I showed you the Surrey, but this is, it's so subtle. It's a really pretty, like sandy color. Go. It has like hints of pink, like a really like orangey pink, and then like green gray. Super subtle. It's super nice. And these are my best friend's colors, much more than mine. That on me, it's not what we should do. It's not what I'm gonna do, but I have a sweater quantity of it. I would love to talk about that really fast. So one of the topics I do want to talk about is Discord this week. Discord, and maybe a little bit about Ravelry and Instagram, but the community aspect is what I want to talk about. I mentioned this last week that I buy from D-stashes, and one of them is on Discord. It's run by Silly Goose Fibers, who's Courtney, and she set it up, I don't even know when, a couple years ago. It has a ton of users. If you ever are in search of one skein of something, it's a great place to go. If you want to just peruse, if you want to try new fibers, if you want to try new dyers, it's more US focused, Canada and US focused. Shipping is expensive, but I think there is a channel in there that's like international that I have muted because I'm not gonna probably buy international on there, but check that out if you're not US based. it is a great place. There are sweater quantities and there's lots and lots of single skeins. So that's also a great place if you're like looking for some inspiration for color work and you want something fun, variegated, or just a real good pop of color. You only need one skein. Try it. People do, you know, they're usually at a slightly discounted price. For the really popular dyers, maybe not as much, but you can get things that are out of pre-order. And that is always cool because you might have missed them, or maybe you need one more skein of something. So it's great. But Courtney this year in April maybe put a channel in that was called Yarny Meetups or something like that, or Yarny Friends, and it was where people could put just where they're located and other people could respond, hey, I'm also in that city or nearby, and potentially do a meetup. There are a lot of knitters out there that it's a solo sport, right? It's just us and our needles and then the internet. And there are people who are in remote locations or just, you know, maybe new to cities, or they're new to knitting and they don't have knitting friends, and or like me, I had been knitting forever and I just didn't have any friends of, you know, my natural friend group that were knitting. I wanted to meet some more people, so I put in where I'm from. Somebody responded, Sylvan responded and said, oh, I'm pretty close. And the next day, I think, or maybe even that day, she had posted this yarn and I was interested. This is pre me being kind of not serious, but looking more at my color palette and thinking that would be really nice for like a neutral sweater. I really can't wear that color. Like, it just makes me look naked, and also it's weird. Washes me out. It's not good. But I said, hey, let's save on shipping. Do you want to meet up? And so Sylvan is so great and met with me just to grab a drink and knit together. We knit outside on a patio at a brewery, and it was great. She's awesome. She vetted me for her knitting group. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know she was in a knitting group. And at the end, you know, we were talking more about meeting up, and she let me know that she knits with some friends. So that is how I found the knitting group that I'm in. Also, it's a good idea to vet anyone you're going to bring to knitting group solo before you bring them into your group. It is a really special dynamic. We're luckily a group of people who are, I can't like say it enough, these ladies have made my summer and totally changed a lot of my outlook on knitting, because there's such a strong community for me to bounce ideas off of. We do meet weekly, and it's really awesome because we're all similarly aged. I'm the oldest. Airy Knits is actually in my group, so is Gently Chaotic Knits. Also go check out their YouTube podcast if you haven't listened to them before. They're both awesome. And you know, we get together, we talk about knitting gossip, our opinions about things, new patterns, yarn pre-orders, yarn that we got. You know, we're a live knitting podcast for a couple of hours every week. It's amazing to have like-minded people that you really get to gush about things with. That's one of the reasons I also wanted to do a podcast, because I know people don't have that. And I'm here for that. I'm going to tell you about my things. Please write comments. Tell me about your things. Find me on Instagram. Message me. I'm available. I want to talk about things. I want, you know, to know what patterns you're making. What have you loved? Did I inspire you to make anything? I love to knitfluence people. I make something and then, oh yeah, we all want to make that. That's so fun. Matching is the best. Yeah, so it's been great. I can't say enough. They're also they were so welcoming. It's the best. There you go. But Discord, let's talk about that really fast. So the D-Stash Discord, and if anyone wants a link, you know, shout at me. I can get you one. You can also just visit Silly Goose Yarns. Her Instagram, and she's got links in her little link tree. She also made a crafter community Discord recently, which is a really great place for small dyers, especially like some pretty small dyers, have their own channels in there where they can, you know, blast out things that are coming, pre-orders, in-stock updates, other things like that, advents, all of those kinds of fun things, and get an audience that's going to kind of interact in a different way. So Instagram is a great place for inspiration, but it's unfortunately still a really curated thing, and I think there's a lot less community vibes. Yes, you can comment on one person's thing, but you're not getting as much back and forth with other makers as you could get on Discord. And so I'm deep in the world of Discord I'm on a couple of dyers I really love, one of which we'll talk about. I'm hoping I get my order that I ordered a while ago next week, so we'll talk about that. That's Long Dog. But I'll talk about my order that I just made for Treehouse, and she also has a Discord, her own separate Discord, which was really, really fun experience to order on the Discord, which I did also for Long Dog. So yeah, it's if you're not familiar, it is another platform. It's just an app you can have on your phone. You can also use it on your computer. It does have like free voice channels, so people can do actual meetups on there without having to have a Zoom license or, you know, set up a FaceTime. It is a great forum chat kind of interface. They're set up differently. You can have threads. If anyone's familiar with Slack, it works very, very much the same as that, or Microsoft Teams, you know, all those kind of tools. And so that's familiar for a lot of us now. But in some of these channels, you know, people just share what they're making. And then you've got a whole group of fellow knitters who maybe are making the same thing, or can give you advice, or can just cheerlead for you. I'm a big cheerleader. I will go in there and just love everybody's things, because I do. I love them. I think that this community is really about celebrating art, and we're all making art, celebrating the art that's dyed for us, these hand-dyed yarns, but also giving people ideas on whatever's affordable to them, and just, you know, making a place where we can virtually cheer each other on. That's it. That's the best I can describe it. So if you want to, please check out those links. If you have questions, or you want to chat about it more, you know, let me know. And let's talk about my yarn really fast. I do have an acquisition, which I told you is going to be our mystery unboxing. But I do want to talk about the Treehouse pre-order. So, two dyers to highlight, I guess, this week. So Treehouse, which is run by Lauren and her team. They're in Texas, and she has a pre-order out for her favorites collection. So these are all colors that were released within other collections before and are coming back. I think she did like some Instagram polling or something, and people picked what they wanted most. There's a lot of the greatest moody purples and greens and blues. They're magic. She also has some some bright colors. She has this amazing brown color, which don't really gravitate towards brown, because again, that's a neutral. That's not the best for me, but I did order some for something specific. So I did a pre-order. I don't have an affiliate link. There are others. I think Knit California does. I know Perfectly Knotted does. So order through their affiliate link if you want to. It doesn't charge you extra, but I'm sure a lot of you have seen this going on Instagram. She's gonna stay open until, I want to say, Sunday. It opened on Sunday. I really appreciate Lauren for doing her pre-order on a Sunday, because I knew I wanted to order something. I wasn't sure how popular it was going to be, and I hate that like panicky feeling of I need to get this order in right away. And if I am going to get it in close to the beginning, I don't want it to be during a work day. I'm also West Coast, so a lot of times if people release stuff, it's like 5 East Coast, and you know, that's the middle of my work day. And I can't always get there, or, you know, just stop what I'm doing to do that. This was pretty chill pre-order. She is going to keep it open the whole week. she decided to bump her timeline out a little bit so that she could have more people order. And I got for a couple of projects. So I got yarn for a tessellated. I'm not going to tell you exactly what I got because you're going to see them when they get here in December. But I'm really excited. So I got some yarn for a tessellated vest, which is Andrew Mowry's new Rhinebeck, like this year's 2023's Rhinebeck pattern, one of the two. And I got some tweed for a bibliophile sweater, which I'm really excited for. And I got a couple extra skeins for a tee. I do have a plan. I have 2 sets. This one is a variegated, like a lightly variegated. And I kind of just want to swatch when it gets here and this other one that I have that is a tonal and decide. I have 2 picked out, and between the 2 of them, which one I'm going to use which for. So the tees are the Salty Air tee and the Plumeria tank from Wool and Pine. So we'll see those soon. I'm super excited. I could have bought everything. I really, those are my colors, those deeply saturated blues, purples, greens. I did contain myself because flock just happened. 3 projects is also enough. And I want to talk about Erin. So I am ordering from Backloop, and you know, I'm being slightly fiscally responsible. So the second dyer I want to highlight is Backloop Yarn Co. Erin Balella is the dyer. She's based out of North Carolina. I also found, I think through Instagram, D-Stash. Like she has a D-Stash page, and I bought several yarns from her, and she had a lot of Backloop yarn on her D-Stash, which I did not realize she was the dyer for at first because reading is hard. I just didn't like research at all. They are I love her color. I like rave about her because she's worked with me really closely on a couple of things too, like a custom colorway. I'm going to highlight a couple of things, but just the news here is anything that's listed on her website right now is 50% off. She has a ton of her other colorways, and I think she's taking like these historic colorways off for her fall collection, and she just has some dyed in stock that are on her shelf, and she wants to get them out the door to make room for fall, and I'm excited for her. She's not like as active as some of the other dyers on Instagram, etc., but she's got these like a lot of very fun colors from several different collections still on her website. I mean, 50% off is crazy. You should buy some. You should support her. Let me show you a couple that I really love, and these are all actually on the website now, all but 2. So I'm just gonna pull them from here because I didn't do this ahead of time. Okay. Here's an armful of yarn. So these are some of my colors, the colors I really love from Erin. So this is called Fresh Cut Grass. This is on her DK. This is her, come on, there we go. Her like basic DK, which it's got these like really fun orange little just speckles in it, but it's like light to dark green. I would call that a variegated still, but it's, you know, it's gonna be a lot green. I got that from her D-Stash. I only have 1 skein of that, and it's going to be a, you know, a complement to something, or turn out to be a hat, because that would be a really great hat color. I got these 3 to go together because I made socks with her sock yarn out of these 3, which the color shows up a little bit different on socks, but I just like loved the combo. This is not something I thought I would love together, and I had bought from her like a bag of leftover sock yarn, and that was perfect to make some doodle socks with. So the colors are not super high contrast in the socks, and so they sort of blend together, but I just like loved it. So I have a plan for these. This will be a colorwork tee. I love them. Okay, so this is calm over here, this dark purple. Then we have lavender and lilacs in the middle, and over here this yellowy orange is called Amber Meadow. I love them. They're great. So these are in DK. These are also her basic DK, which is 100% superwash merino, 231 yards for 100 grams. Then I got, she doesn't have this base anymore, so I got some of the last of it. And this is why I really want to highlight Erin, and you should buy from her, is that she'll work with you too on colors in the future. If you ever want to put a custom order in, she'll like dye you a custom color. I jumped the gun because I talked about that for the tweed, even though this was actually a color she had, but she just didn't have it on her website, still had all of the dyes for it. And so she sent me just a color. I said I was looking for a dark bluey gray, and she had this color called Slate. This is her no longer available tweed base, but you can still see how lush that color is. It's so nice. And this is called Pine. This is the cashmere sock base. Boop, boop, boop. There we go. If you look at the website, this is definitely a little bit lighter. Like I said last week, cashmere does sort of wash out. You know, I think Allie has posted this for EKF yarns before. It does watercolor paint the yarn a little bit differently because of the cashmere content. But this is an 80-10-10 sock base. And then I was hunting. I've since found a color that's very similar to this, but I was hunting for earlier this year for the perfect yarn for my Cargill sweater, which is on my list to make and will be cast on this fall. Or winter, because I really think it's going to be a spring, because I picked really spring colors, but I really wanted a sort of a deep periwinkle color. And what I couldn't find is I couldn't find a complementary periwinkle fuzz mohair or Surrey. And the Cargill is fingering plus Surrey. You can just do it with DK. So I could have just found a DK, but I wanted that, like, it's got those dip stitches, sort of like the sorrel, but the whole entire sweater. And I wanted that fuzz, especially after making the sorrel, you know, like that, it's so nice. So she just made me these. She did send me 3 minis, and I got to pick. And they range from this color to a little lighter to a little bit darker, a little bit more blue. And you can see how differently this picks up the dye, but it looks a little bit more blue on camera than in person. It's definitely a little bit more purpley. Woo. There we go. But you can see it's got a little bit of tonality in it. And then what's amazing is if you really check out the Surrey, that silk string is exactly the same color as this, but the fluff really picks up the color differently. And I was, you know, not 100% sure what I thought of it. I didn't know what to expect. And then I made a tiny baby swatch, and this is not for purposes of the pattern, but I just wanted to see how they played together. And I don't know if you can kind of see that. Boop. It is so fantastic. It gives, in person, it gives that bluey purple periwinkle color, just a little bit more purple depth, and it's pretty. The Surrey, this is a kind of a basic Surrey base, also 328 yards. It is pretty fuzzy, so it definitely like has a lot of coverage. I love it. So I cannot wait. That's going to be a Cargill. So that's just some information for you. No one is sponsoring me to tell you these things. These are just my preferences. Dyers I like and I want to support, and this is a great platform to do that. I have their yarn here. I can vouch for it. I'm using back loop in that Wild Ivy right now, and her bases are nice. Let's take a step back and talk about my stash. A lot of you have complimented me. Thank you so much. I love it. And I know that it's overwhelming to some. I totally get that. Within my knitting group, there are people, some of us who have stash. I like to call this the yarn library, after Leslie from Knit California started calling her yarn library. I love that mentality. Stash maybe sometimes has a negative connotation, like I have too much of something. I don't. I have, 5 hobbies. They are looking at yarn, that I want to buy, purchasing yarn, playing with my yarn on my yarn wall, looking at patterns, and then making things. They're all related to the yard. And it's my house. I'm a grown-up. It's my money. This is not making me destitute. So I can do what I want with it. And my preference is to have some yarn on hand for projects that I want to make, and some yarn that's not allocated to a project, because I do test knit. I don't always want to go out and buy new yarn for that. That's stressful to me. I'd rather have some on hand that I can shift around my project ideas, or just some of the things that aren't allocated. So I think, to each their own. You know, one of our knit group members, Charlotte, she has a baby stash, and that is what she wants to do. She wants it to come in and she wants to use it and have it allocated. She loves using up scraps. She is so, you know, smart about her stash, and she's also, you know, that's the space that she's allocated for it is not great. I have this whole room to myself. This is my office. Nothing else is in here besides my yarn and a desk, and so it's my space to do with what I want. So yeah, I mean, I think do it is going to make you happy. If my yarn wall makes you stressed, I'm really sorry. It makes me so happy. This is my Zoom background too for work calls. It's a great conversation starter. I recently joined a bigger company, and not everybody knew this is the thing I do. They do now. And it's a fun thing. It also gives me inspiration to look at it and look at color combinations and just have a little bit of freedom because I have things on hand. So long story short is just, enjoy your yarn, enjoy my yarn, ask me questions about it, but have the stash you want. The other thing, I guess, like a little side note, is just I do have a lot of commercial yarns in here. These are knit picks, these are drops over here. This is all We Are Knitters. Some will in the gang down here, but We Are Knitters. I've got Malabrigo. And then I have a bunch of hand-dyed yarn. I didn't start buying hand-dyed yarn from Dyers until this year. I was buying from D-stashes, again, just to try things out, see how I like the Dyer style, and that does vary a ton, Dyer to Dyer, especially when you get into variegateds. And I, didn't even know that when I started buying them. I just bought a couple skeins so I could do small projects and kind of figure out what I liked. But yeah, and I pick test knits. I guess that's a whole other conversation. I have a lot of thoughts on test knits, but one of my thoughts is sometimes I think testers feel a little bit of pressure to use nice yarns because they are getting, called out by the designer. Sometimes they're added to the Ravelry page and they want to have the nice yarns. And especially if, a designer is working in tandem with a Dyer, which is such a great way for them to get, I get why they do it. They get yarn for that project, often for more than one sample. It makes their designing process more affordable, and I say go for it. I also don't think that you should feel pressured to use a hand-dyed yarn or that specific Dyer. And I think it's really helpful to have testers use a variety of yarns in a variety of price points, because we can't all afford every sweater to be made out of hand-dyed yarn. Some of us can, and some of us can't. And I think to be able to see a finished one, not just a suggestion, or you have to do research and hope that it's going to look good, but to see a finished object and something that's affordable is great. I have done tests both sides for sure. I've done tests with hand-dyed yarns, and I've done tests, using drops and one hand-dyed yarn. That's a really great way to get an affordable but special sweater. And it's something that I think, maybe we need to call out a little more often, or make sure that designers keep in mind or ask testers to what they're going to use. Some designers definitely do. They ask for what kind of yarn, so they do have that variety across the board with what testers end up using. And that's just my little thought on one testing opinion. Let's get into yarn. Now that I talked about the fact that I have a lot of yarn, I have more yarn. So This is a mystery box. This is a mystery box from Fine Yarn Supply Co. And they're based out of California. Megan is the owner. Not me, Megan, another Megan. She is lovely. And I did buy one of these mystery boxes last time she had them, and I got some really awesome yarn from it. So I saw that she was doing it again, and I have this platform now, and I thought it'd be a fun thing to share because I really got awesome yarn last time. She is small business. I messaged her, letting her know I was gonna feature her. I paid for this myself though. This is 100% me. But she did then also take into account some of my color preferences. So, and I think she would do that for any of you if you wanted to have it. So this mystery box is 10 yarns in a variety of weights for $100. That's a lot of yarn for not a terrible amount of money. And last time I did get some commercial dyed yarn. I got like some Madeline Tosh, well, I guess those are still commercial dyed. Madeline Tosh yarns. I got a couple, I got like a couple spin cycle yarns last time in my $100 box, which is crazy. Sorry for this noise. And I got some things I had never tried before, and so that was really exciting. So without further ado, she put it in a nice little sack for me. Ooh, that's nice. Okay, let's see. On my invoice, do we have a note? We do. Oh, she added a pattern for me because I reached out to her. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. So she said a little bit about me. I grew up in the Midwest, Wisconsin, lived my adult life in California. She's been knitting for 20 years and spent the last 5 years selling finished scarves and shawls, but just transitioned to the yarn shop this year. Okay, so it is super new, and she is loving it. So please go support her. That's such a cool thing. And this is such a steal. So she's got a couple of dyers on there that, like Murky Depth is one of them, some Malabrigo, some other things. And she included, oh, her own pattern. You guys, this is so special. It's called the Squish Wrap, and it looks like it is a rectangular wrap with tapered triangle ends. So fun. So maybe we should make that with one of these. Okay. She gave me her, oh, this is another great project bag. So let's see. She did say she maybe stuck a couple extra things in for me, so we'll see what we get here. And not everything is labeled. So I think that sometimes these might include like returns, like if somebody or something that was wound at the shop that didn't get used, or you know, whatever. So like this is a wound ball. That is pretty. It's got all these grays and some browns and some orangey red highlights. That's a fun fall color. I don't know who that is. There's no tag on that one, so true mystery. We've got 2 Tosh Merino lights. This is from their collaboration with Hobbii. You guys, I don't know how to say that. In this very pretty blue. Focus. It's just not going to do it. Hold on. There we go. It is that it's super vibrant. So this is a single ply. Sorry, the other one is a 2 ply, looks like a fingering weight, and this one is also a fingering weight. 420 yards for 100 grams, called River Crossing Deep, in a nice vibrant blue. I did tell her I'm a winter palette, so I just, you know, I didn't elaborate much more than that. So she gave me a Murky Depths. This is their Neptune DK, which is 100% superwash merino wool, 231 yards for 100 grams. And this color is called Twist and Shout. I actually saw this one on the website. It's really fun. It does look a little bit pinkier in person than it's picking up right now on the camera. Is it just going to blur it out? Come on. There we go. it's fun. It's just a tonal. It's pinky red. Ooh. Oh, no, I have some of this from the last one I bought. So this is Crevice Solid. Crevasse Solid. Also, this is the counterpart. So this is the Shibui. You guys, I should look up how to say that. In their Silk Cloud, which is mohair. And it's 60% kid mohair, 40% silk. So I have this blue color that is probably a pretty good match to those singles, but I actually have 2 of these in my stash in this crevasse color. And the other colorway she gave is called Lakefront. And it does say here, these are 330 yards for 25 grams. So that's like a really lightweight mohair. And this color is like, that's gorgeous. That's like super lovely. Let's see. This is some Farmer's Daughter fibers, which I'm a big fan of, as you already know. She gave me these, she put them together. This would be a really fun little set here. So this is Spin Cycle, this is Dream State. So this is the worsted kind of weight, which is Wololo is what it's called. And it is 150 yards. They don't give you a weight. I think they really do measure yardage. So for consistency's sake, it's probably 150 yards for 50-ish grams, I'm imagining. I have one other, I didn't weigh it, that one either, but this color is super fun. It's very like Southwesty looking. I like it. There we go. It's got some tealy blues, oranges, gray, brown. God, it's lovely. I like this. And then this is the Recollect, which is 100% white and black Rambouillet in the color Pretty Shield, which is a sport weight, I believe, from Farmer's Daughter. And that's like a fun little rust color. I actually have 2 skeins in my stash that didn't have labels from my last mystery box for Megan, and I think that that's what this is. Let's pull those out and see, because wouldn't that be so nice? They're really similar, even if it's not the right color. I think that's what this yarn is. Yeah, they look like the same texture of yarn, and that's what I was thinking they were, but I wasn't sure. So now I'm gonna put those correctly labeled in my stash guide, or my stash spreadsheet. Okay, last pieces. So let's see, I'll count those in a second. Oh, okay. So this is potentially what this rolled skein is. This is Murky Depths. Ooh, super pretty. Very fall. It's colors are not necessarily anything, but this to me reads something like more a little bit my husband's speed than mine for colors, but that's great because I don't make him enough things, and he could use something, who knows what. But now I do really think this is the same yarn, so I think that I have 3 skeins of this, which is amazing. So with those 3, the Farmer's Daughter, the other Murky Depths, the Dream State, oop, so that's, I can't hold them all up, that's 8 skeins, and then 2 sets of these, so it's really like, that's 12. So that's really awesome and so generous of her. So if you want to support her, again, she sent me a couple extra skeins, but in no other way is she sponsoring any part of this. I just thought it would be a fun thing to do, because something, you know, I saw pop up on Instagram, and I think she had the sale open for a while, which means there are probably more mystery boxes out there, and they're a steal, especially if you want to try some new things. It is a lot of stuff that you can find on her website. You can see what is in her collection and what you like. If those things are interesting, then like next time she has a mystery box, I'll pop it into my Instagram story, and you should buy one if you're so interested. Message her maybe with your color preferences, and if she can swing it, I'm sure she would. Let's talk about books. So, I did finish 2 books this week. Do I have anything else to say about yarn? No, I don't think so. That was fun for me. I love a mystery unboxing. Do I need all of the more yarn? You guys, no, but these are useful for projects, and I have already used some stuff from the last mystery box this summer, so things that fall within my wheelhouse. Okay. What did I read? I finished The Awakened by the Vampire Prince by Charlene Hartnady, which I did correct myself at the end of last time, but it is book 4, and the series is actually called The Chosen series. Again, it's like shifter, vampire, human, elf, living in the same universe, world, and, you know, pairings or couples, sometimes more than one-on-one. They are heavily in the smutty category, and they're fun. I didn't love this one as much as I liked the first couple, partly because it was a little bit too much like miscommunication and the thought of duty dictating your life decisions, and it's not really like, that's not my thing as much, but I will probably finish the series. I think there's 1 or 2 more books. I just took a little palette cleanser. I was listening to those on audio, and I went to the library, went into my Libby app. This is another thing I will forever in my life tell people about. If you live in the US and you have a local library, most local libraries in the US have you know, some sort of online formats that you can download audiobooks and Kindle books, or EPUB or whatever, and do it. It's a great way to save some money, especially to try new genres, or, you know, for the books, if you're a voracious reader and you don't necessarily need to purchase all of the books. I love the library. I put myself on waitlist for popular things. I do buy some books, but I don't read a lot of physical books. I do, you know, I will buy some audiobooks, but I don't tend to re-listen, so I love the library. I was like that weird nerdy kid who you could take out 25 books or something at once. As a child, I would take out pretty much the maximum, like, often. Weirdo. It's a good thing. So the book I read as my palette cleanser was called Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. Talia Hibbert's a big series that was super popular. People have been talking about is Get a Life, Chloe Brown. It's the Brown Sisters series. There's 3 of them. And they're so fun. Those are more adult. Definitely a little bit smutty, maybe like two pepper each, 2 to 3, but very fun. Those all have really great relationship builds in them, and you see the other sisters come in and out. I love that. This, I didn't really read much about it. I just saw, hey, this is a new book by her, and I get on board with authors. You know, I'm all in once I start, and this one is definitely a teen romance. There's really no spice in it. Still a great read. I thought it was so fun. A little emotional angst. You gotta love that. Teenagers are hilarious. She writes it well. I mean, I think she doesn't make her teenage characters too grown up. These are very smart teenagers. But she still gives them kind of the emotional intelligence of teenagers, but like enjoyable for adults to read. So it was good. I think it's an all ages crowd pleaser. Yeah, and really, really fun. So one of the things Talia Hibbert does is she often writes about a more diverse cast of characters. So neurodiversity, body diversity, race you know, like she doesn't write about white characters, and that's awesome. So, I mean, not never. Often her leads are not white characters. So I am currently reading still The Rogue Crown by A.K. Mulford. I said I was paused on this book, and I did pick it up this weekend. I got over the hump. I'm going to finish it in very short order. And I'll jump back in. I think there's one more that's published and maybe one more that's not published yet in the series of 5. And it's a great time. So I highly recommend if you like kind of the high fae type books. There's also some magic in this from the witches, not from the fae, and power struggles, a little bit of politicking, and new, like the young generation breathing life back into some, you know, bad decisions by the elders. I guess that's a good way to put it, but it's very entertaining. So I'm still reading Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonam-Young. I haven't really read much of that because I was focusing on the other. Those are my 2 Kindle books right now, and I have been hitting the pillow as soon as I start reading at night, so I didn't get a lot done in that one. Still enjoying it though. And then my newest audiobook after I finished Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute, I decided to jump into kind of an older series. I think it's called A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I have seen other people who like books that I like post, you know, as one of their favorite series or another series that they really love. And so I was like, why not? This is a great time for me to jump right in. I'm waiting on a couple of other series continuation books for me from the library. And one book that I didn't talk about, but I'm just gonna like say I read the other week and I still can't stop thinking about it, is Fourth Wing. If you didn't read Fourth Wing, go read it. It's so good. Even if you're not super into romance, there's a lot going on in it. Definitely there is a romance, and yes, there's some spice. If spice is not your thing, there's like one chapter which once you get to it, just skip all the way through. You don't need to read it. It doesn't necessarily impact the story. Am I here for it? Absolutely, 100%. It was great. It was all the build. It was what I needed. All that kind of anticipation and the love, the falling in love. So good. So good. And the end, I think my jaw dropped. Then I laughed a little bit, and then I was like, oh, I cannot wait. So that's your next read. If you haven't read it yet, please read it. And that is all of the books. That's all of the yarn. Again, I am waiting for my Long Dog order. I did order from the One Collection. I ordered a range of colors for a particular project, which we'll talk about next week, which is why I'm like one of the last orders to go out, because I ordered not one of every, but like the last thing she dyed is one of the colors that was in my order. So the rest of them have just been waiting. And I know Brandy's working super hard to get everybody's orders out. I did get my order notification, so I know it's getting shipped out this week. I can't wait. It should be here next week, hopefully, fingers crossed. And so I will have that to share with you. Again, I am so grateful to everybody who's watched. I'm having a great time. I hope you had a great time. I hope that you were working on something. Tell me what you were working on. If you haven't already introduced yourself, you know, write me a comment, find me on Instagram, you know, to keep the conversation going. Join those Discords, start participating. If you want some knit friends, we're out there and we're online and we are ready to welcome you. So have a great weekend, everybody, and I will talk to you next week.